crafty peeps, what is up? Happy Friday and welcome to Story Kit Crush session 3. I am having so much fun with this hashtag, with this community. First off, before I even get into my video, can I just say thank you to all of you who have been making and sharing with the hashtag. I love seeing it in Ali Edwards' Facebook group. I love seeing it on Instagram. You guys are killing it with crushing your story kits, and I'm so happy that you guys are inspired by this challenge to get these products off of your tables and out of your baskets of shame and onto your pages. So I gotta tell you, this layout was heavily inspired by something that I saw Diane Payne do in the Ali Edwards Facebook group. I don't know if she's on Instagram, so I don't know if I can tag her. But Diane, if you watch this video, first of all, I love that you were brave enough to share your story and share your workout photos, and that is what made me decide to share my own. So thank you so much for inspiring this. So I had, last year I went on this crazy fitness kick. I decided that I was going to be kinder to my body, be kinder to myself, start eating better, get back in the gym, work on getting stronger. And then the rest of 2019 happened and I fell all the way off. With, losing my medical director at work, which was crazy stressful. And then my last semester of school, kidnapping my entire life. I have not been in the gym in 5 or 6 months, which is not like me. When I was full on, I was in the gym 5 times a week. And I went from being in the gym 5 times a week to being in the gym no times a week, which is a bit of an adjustment. But I decided to tell a story about giving it your all. And so I went through my camera roll and pulled out a bunch of gym photos. Now I am the queen of dirty mirror selfies. It's my favorite thing to take. And so I used to take a picture in the gym every day because I would wear really cute gym clothes, which would get me out of my house and into the gym. And I always took my pictures after I was done sweating. So it felt more authentic. I didn't just get dressed to go to the gym and take pictures. I got dressed, went to the gym to work out. And then after I was done working out, I would take the pictures. But I had a bunch of these gym selfies. So I picked 6 of them that were my favorite. I'm wearing green in a lot of them because green is my favorite color. And I like to say that green's my power color. So I have a lot of green gym clothes and I'm wearing green in a lot of them. And I printed them out 2.5 by 3.3, which is almost to scale at 3x4 picture, but a little bit smaller. I did some math to figure out what the best dimensions were. And then I wanted to create a grid layout, but my sewing machine and I are on the outs all the time. Literally all the time. I did a layout for Cocoa Vanilla a few days ago, and just stitching 6 straight lines and a border took me about 45 minutes. So there was no way I was pulling out my sewing machine and fighting with it again today. But I really wanted the look of a grid. So I decided to find some cardstock that was close enough to the colors in the kit. So I have a mustard color cardstock from Basil, an orange cardstock from Basil, and then a navy cardstock from a Pebbles line because I actually don't have any plain navy cardstock in my stash, which is very weird because I really like the color navy. I'm not sure why I didn't have any. I had a bunch of teals, but no dark blues. So I just went ahead and cut a 1/4 inch strips, and I had cut them all 12 inches, and then I decided I wanted to kind of offset my grid and have it be more right-leaning, so I cut some of them down to 9 inches. So I have a few strips that are 11 inches and a few strips that are 9 inches, and you see, all I did was layer the papers so you can see each color, and I kind of wove it. I kind of wove it. I cannot speak. You guys, I can write really well, but I cannot speak, and that is just the downside because people are like, oh, you're so eloquent on paper. And I'm like, yeah, listen to me talk. But I just took the papers and I layered it. So I did all the vertical strips, 1 layer, and then I went in and did a layer of horizontal strips. And then I did another layer of vertical strips and then another layer of horizontal strips. And that gives it that woven appearance so that the papers are kind of woven. Yeah, I think it looks really cool in the pictures, and you can see it there and then I just tried to vary the color so that not all the orange was on top and not all the blue was on top and not all the yellow was on top. And I think it came out really, really good. And then I just went in and put my photos back in. So I left that middle space empty because I'm going to use the acrylic word on this layout. I almost never use the acrylic words. So I figured since I'm making this big page, this is a perfect place to use the acrylic word. And now I'm hunting for it. And for a second, I panicked because I'm like, did I put it somewhere else? Where did I hide it? So I'm hunting for it. I'm trying to find out where my acrylic word is. I eventually find it and we get back to work. And part of the reason why I'm doing this voiceover style instead of doing a talk through is because this video took me this project took me about 45 minutes. This is pretty long for for a story, like a storybook layout for me. Like normally I can get them together in like 20 minutes, but I'm also normally working in 6x8. And I thought it'd be fun to do something different. Since we're talking about crushing our story kits, not every layout has to be the same. And I like working in different mediums and different sizes. And I thought it'd be really fun to do a 12x12 so I can print these photos larger than I would have been able to print them if I tried to put them in my 6x8 book. So here I pulled out my Distress Oxide ink swatches, because I wanted to do some spotlight blending behind where that give title is going to be. I'm looking for my blending brush right now. I did a terrible job at editing this video, you guys. I'm so sorry. I thought I cropped out a lot of it. Yeah, terrible job editing the video because now my cat is wrestling with my tripod. I am so sorry, so sorry. But I went in and looked for my blending brush, and then I grabbed Rusty Hinge because I thought that orange was the closest orange to the oranges in the Give Story Kit, which is why you saw me pull out my my ink swatch card, because I wanted to make sure that the oranges were close, because I have a bunch of oranges, and I pulled out Rusty Hinge as I thought it was the closest. And now every time I dip into the ink, I tap it off on a piece of scratch paper, so I'm not putting a ton of ink right on my surface. This prevents you from getting those harsh edges from it prevents you from getting harsh edges and having to do a lot of blending. If you tap off the extra ink before you go to your surface, you tend to get a smoother blend. And especially since you're doing a spotlight blend and not blending off one surface onto another surface, that makes it harder in and of itself. Because normally, if you're blending off one surface and onto another surface, it's easier to smooth it out. But since I'm only doing a spotlight, tapping off some of that extra ink made it super easy. And now I pull out some stamps from Ellie Studio. This is the Olivia stamp set. I have no idea if this stamp set even exists anywhere else but in my stash. But you know, every single time, if I can find it on the internet, I will link it in the description box so you can have it. So I decided to stamp it your all, so that my title is Give It Your All. And you'll see that this is kind of a weird way to start stamping. I started stamping right to left, but I knew where I wanted my title to stop, and I figured it was just easier to stamp right to left so that my title stopped exactly where I wanted it to, and I kind of wanted it to be in a rectangle. So I stamped out the word your first, and then I went in and stamped the word all, which is, again, kind of a weird order to stamp things in, but I knew I wanted it to be a rectangle, and I knew I wanted space to put a heart and have the heart be in the rectangle of my stamping. So that's just the only reason I stamped it the way I did. And so I go ahead and I use VersaFine ink because you see this stamp set is kind of like a handwriting font, which tend to be like some of my favorites. Like I either like really, really, really huge block letters, or I like really small letters that look like it could be somebody's handwriting. So again, I just use VersaFine ink. I find that VersaFine is the best ink I have for stamping like smaller detail images. It works out really well for me, and it's, again, my favorite ink for stamping small images. And I got this teeny tiny stamp block from scrapbook.com. It is the cutest. Look, I'm taking a coffee break on camera. Like, who am I? But it is the cutest stamp block I've ever seen. It's 1.5 or 1.25. I think it's 1.25 inches, so it's perfect for stamping small letters. Because normally when I stamp, I'm stamping with like my 2x3 block, and I feel like it could be a little big for stamping down tiny letters. So like a small acrylic block is life-changing, you guys. It is literally my favorite thing ever. I've been using it so much, and I've been stamping so much more because it's just so much more convenient than using a full-size acrylic block. So now I fight with my ATG, which you will not have to watch. I put tape back in my ATG. I don't even know what order my videos are going up in anymore these days, but you're gonna hear me like ramble about my ATG in a few more videos about how I didn't use it because I don't like putting the tape back into it. I finally found a video that helps me load my ATG in 3 minutes flat. It was amazing. So now I'm back to not hating my ATG and putting tape back in it and using it. So through the magic of editing, you will not have to watch me tape down all of these photos. But what I did was, since my grid is now pretty thick because it's pieces of paper layered over each other, you'll see that my pictures are not in a perfect grid anymore. I put some a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, so that they're interacting with the paper edges, because the middle row, there was no way for me to not do that because my middle row got so much smaller with all my papers. So you can see in the video that, again, some of my photos are interacting with the paper edges. Some of them are a little higher, some of them are a little lower. Things are at varied heights so that I can make sure that it looks even and that it looks intentional and not like I forgot to leave enough space, which is exactly what I did. I totally forgot to leave enough space. I'm also very good at making it look like I did things on purpose when I really just had like an accident and just had to go with it. So there you go, guys. There's your scrapbook tip for the day. Fake it till you make it. So now I pulled out that Give die cut pack, which I haven't used a single thing from. Like, I'm talking about Story Kit crushing, and I have so much stuff left. Like, these story kits come jam-packed full of things. This is my third project doing Story Kit Crush, and I also made a project before this. So this is my fourth project with the Give Story Kit, and I have so much stuff left. So now I'm trying to put down hearts, and I put down 2 hearts there because I have that thing about doing things in threes and doing things in odd numbers, and you'll eventually see in the final layout that one of those hearts disappear anyway because I ended up putting another heart somewhere else. But I'm just going through the die cuts, trying to figure out how I want to embellish this layout because for the most part, the skeleton of it is finished. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do to embellish the rest of it. So I play around with those wood veneer stars because I love wood veneer, and then I eventually decide not to put them because now I'm introducing another texture, and I just didn't want to have to put 3 pieces of wood veneer on my layout, and there was no way I could just put one because that would make me crazy. If I just put one piece of wood veneer down, I would literally lose my mind. So I eventually scrapped that idea, but I was messing around with the idea of putting them down, so I go ahead and I glue my word, and I just use Scotch Quick Dry Glue in my fine line bottle. It is what I always use to glue down acrylic pieces. I've had acrylics from other brands, and this is just my favorite. And you see I kind of glued it so that the G, the like down curve of the G ends right where my stamping starts, which is why I did my stamping skewed that way, just so it looks like it fits better. I don't know if it does, but these are the stories I tell myself. And then I realized I had all that empty space on the left side, and all that empty space on the left side was perfect for some stamping. So I pulled out my stamp set, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And then I just decided to use the Give in Allie's handwriting because I have the giant acrylic word in Allie's handwriting, and I'm just repeating that color. So I grab my Honeyman ink and my Tillamook ink. These are just Crafters. These are both Crafters inks from Allie Edwards, and they're an orange and a yellow. I've used them on a previous Story Kit Crush layout with these colors. They work really well. I don't have the navy, so I'm going to have to fix that at some point and grab the navy ink. But I really like these Crafters inks. They're so good. They're so juicy. I love them. And you guys know that I have a thing right now for doing generation stamping. So you're going to see a lot of that in this like side piece. So what I did first was tape down a bit of scrap paper to the edge of my layout to kind of protect my work surface. I mean, my desk is in shambles anyway, so I probably could have stamped straight onto the foam board on my desk because it would be par for the course. But I just went in and I took Honeyman first because I thought it'd be easier to put the yellow down and then put the orange on top of it. So I just stamped Give a bunch of times, and you see I did some generation stamping. So I'd ink it, stamp, and then stamp like 3 more times without inking it again, and then ink it, stamp, and do that over and over. So I did the yellow, and then I switched to the orange, and I do the same thing. So same thing, I grab the ink pad, stamp it up, and then just do some repeat stamping. And I'm trying to fill in the gaps where I left the space for the yellow, and then I'm also like overlapping where the yellow and the orange is and just interacting with the edge of the paper, which is why I put that scrapbook of cardstock down to fill that up. And then I go to work on balancing the colors because after this I realized that I now have a bunch of yellow and orange, and I feel like I'm losing the navy in my layout. So I try to figure out what could I do to repeat that navy on the sidebar since I've added all that yellow and orange. I'd take another coffee break because apparently this is what I'm doing today. I thought about adding some navy stamping. Like I have other navy inks, but I felt like the navy would just be too dark over the yellow and the orange, and I didn't want to try it and then hate it, and then my layout is ruined because I was not doing this whole thing over. So I just go into my embellishment stash. So I first pulled out those die cuts to see if there were any navy die cuts in the stash, and there really weren't. And then the chipboard in this kit are all those squares. I couldn't figure out how to do that. So what I did was I went into my hoard of older Allie Edward products, and I tried on a bunch of different chipboards, and I found this sheet of stickers, and they're gray and navy, and I think they must have been from the Brave Story kit. I don't have the Brave Story kit, but Allie always does the Stories Revisited thing where you can buy older embellishments, and I think they must have been the Brave Story kit. So I just go ahead and I scatter 3 of those blue and navy stickers across my layout. I add a yellow heart. I realize that there are now 4 hearts on my layout, so I end up removing one of those hearts, and I call it good, you guys. I love how this layout came out. I think it's so fun. I love the colors. I love the larger size, and I think it is a perfect addition to crushing my story kit. So I hope you enjoyed this layout, you guys. Please give me a like, comment, and subscribe if you're so inclined. Please keep crushing your story kits and tagging Krystal and I in all of your layouts. Also, Krystal has her layout going. Probably should have said this sooner, but Krystal has her layout going up today as well. So I will be sure to link her video in the description box so you can catch hers and see what she's up to and see the story that she's telling with her Give Story Kit. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you liked the more sped up version, but there was no way I could talk through this. It was just so long. So again, I hope you like this. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think and let me know what story kits you're crushing. Until next time, keep your crafty friends and have the best day, and I will see you around. Bye!